Yeah, there you go. That's Guns N' Roses, actually, right? Mm-hmm. Am I on? Oh, okay, good. I am sitting here with the legends themselves, Metallic. I've been waiting for this day for months. This is insane.
You've been talking about it for months.
You know, I was listening. We were playing a Guns N' Roses song while you guys were getting set up. I remember you guys had a whole thing with them, right? James, right? You hated those fucking guys. You went on tour with them, and it was just a nightmare, wasn't it? Do I have that right?
You do have it right.
Yeah. What was the rub there? Because those guys are infamously late. And was that the rub, or were they just prima donnas?
That was it. They were always late. That's why I hated them.
Was that the reason?
I think they pretty much stood for everything we didn't like. The glam, the L.A., the everything. Everything we kind of escaped in the early days, you know?
Yeah, because everything I know about you guys, and you know, I think people think rock stars are going to be late. They don't care about their fans. You guys, even at the Apollo Saturday night, you're there, you start on time, you don't, no bullshit with everyone waiting for you like prima donnas. I appreciate that so much.
I love that,
yeah,
too.
It's important to me. You guys look like you were having fun. Hey, Lars, you all right, man?
I'm rocking it. This is great, man. Good morning.
I don't know how you guys are awake. What I saw Saturday night is a tremendous amount of energy. Have you ever weighed yourselves in terms of how much weight you lose during a show? I'm being serious. Would you lose 5 to 10
fighters,
pounds?
huh?
Like fighters. I mean,
I know my friend wanted to put a pedometer on me because, you know, the Death Magnetic stage, and I mean, it took up the whole hockey arena. He wanted to see how far we ran during the show.
It is an amazing amount of energy. And the thing I kept thinking when I was watching you Saturday night, and even when I saw the concert film, which, by the way, is a beautiful film. I've never seen a band shot that well and the sound to be that intense. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to find out how you did all that. But when I'm watching you guys, you genuinely appeared to be having fun. And I was wondering, like, I was actually nervous for you. I said, it's a small hall. It's 1,500 people. Are you going to give a shit? And are you just going to go through the motions? And I got the feeling that you guys were moved by being in the Apollo Theater. Is that true?
Yeah. So much history there, obviously. And when people are that close, it really makes you step up. I mean, you couldn't see it from where you were, but there's three levels. So everybody on the floor close, everybody on the second tier are really close, and people. So you can basically see everybody in the whole venue, and everybody just feels like they're sitting right on top of you. So you're playing to every single person in there, and it's really cool.
And after all these years, it still feels new to you when you're playing something that small?
Well, especially when you're playing a place like that. You know, it's got such musical history, and we're pretty much honored to be in a place like that. But the small gig, you know, no matter what the gig is, we get nervous and we're excited about it.
You do get nervous.
Totally. Yeah.
Because you mentioned that during the show. When you say you were nervous, some songs are harder to play than others, right?
Right.
And by that you mean, I notice that when you and Kirk are playing together, sometimes I'm reminded of the Allman Brothers. Because they used when Dickie Betts and Duane Allman used to be able to jam together, they were one of the few guys that could play dual leads and harmonize with their leads. And you guys appear to be doing that same trick, but I think that's tough to do. I think that's the hardest thing to do. How many bands do that?
Well, you know, a big inspiration on James and I was that band Thin Lizzy. They played a lot of guitar harmonies.
Right.
And, you know, once you figure out what each guy is going to be playing, you stick to that, it's pretty easy.
Does the rehearsal time for a tour get insane? Because, you know, I think people think you wing it when you're up there, and each time it's a little different. There's no winging it, right? I mean, you guys have to be that precise.
I'll tell you something. Lately, I feel like we've
stick to that. It's pretty easy.
Does the rehearsal time for a tour get insane? Because, you know, I think people think you wing it when you're up there, and each time it's a little different. There's no winging it, right? I mean, you guys have to be that precise.
I'll tell you something. Lately, I feel like we've kind of been winging it. You know, we've been on this incredible schedule, whether it's a press schedule or just even with our families, you know, because we really balance everything out.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is we've been pulling it off. I mean, we flew into Denmark for Roskilde Festival, and we actually had a great show. And then the other night we were in Rio de Janeiro. for Rock in Rio, and we pulled that off, and we were like really in the twilight zone. Our body clock was off.
Yeah,
so.
because it seems like you've got a lot to memorize in a sense, right?
I think it's a lot of trust. It's a lot of trust that when you get up there, if you have the confidence that you know you're pretty good at what you got going on, and you've knocked the rust off at least on your own, when you get up there, you have to trust that whatever happens in the moment, you're going to be able to be okay with it. Like I'm sure you on your show, whatever's thrown at you, you feel confident about, and you can trust that the right thing's going to happen next.
How old were you when you started playing guitar?
I think 14.
14?
Yeah.
Up until then, no music lessons, nothing like that?
Yeah, I had to take piano lessons.
And you hated it, I bet.
I hated it.
And the guitar was your salvation because you knew you wanted to be a musician in some weird way, and then you get a hold of a guitar and you start playing?
Yeah.
And did someone teach you to play the guitar, or
No.
do you just learn that on your own?
I did learn it on my own.
That's fucking crazy to me, how you do that. How old are you when you write your first song?
I think it was 15.
15.
Yeah, and the band hated it, so I fired them.
And it took you a long time to figure out how to sing, in the sense that...
Still figuring it out.
I was listening to an early... This is an early recording, and you were trying to find your voice, I feel, and you almost sounded more like Robert Plant than the guy you sound like today. Am I correct? I'm going to play a little of this. Tell me what comes to mind. That's you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't go up
His
high
balls
like that
hadn't
anymore.
dropped yet.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. All three of them.
But when you're an artist and you start thinking about doing a band and all that stuff, don't you get sort of confused in terms of how do I find... when I first got into radio, I used to talk up here. I was nervous. I was tight. My voice wouldn't drop. And I talk really fast and nasally. Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
When do you find your style that we all know today?
Well, you do it a lot.
Right.
You tour a lot, and you build up confidence. You build up confidence within your little family around you, and they guide you too. You ask questions like, what does that sound like? Or, you listen to yourself back, and you go, wow, I'd rather not sound like that.
I noticed a big... because even in the early days, when we were playing clubs and stuff around L.A. and San Francisco, James was so shy that he didn't even used to talk to the audience. Dave Mustaine, our guitar player, used to do all the talking.
Right.
I noticed the biggest transformation...
Still does.
The biggest transformation was the first time we went to Europe in 1984. We got out in front of the European audiences, and there were thousands of them just welcoming us, and they've been waiting for us for a couple of years. And I noticed a big change in James. He all of a sudden started finding himself and communicating with the audience and getting a lot more confident.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing to develop. It just happens with thousands of hours of practice. I was watching Led Zeppelin getting this Kennedy Center honors, and I was thinking about you guys. You guys rock harder even than Zeppelin, and I've been to Zeppelin shows back in the early 70s. And I was thinking, would you guys want an honor like the Kennedy Center honors, or would you laugh at something like that? Do you laugh when you see Led Zeppelin getting honored in a very traditional way? I'm curious.
I don't laugh.
I think it's great that they're still, after all these years, are still being acknowledged and getting awards like that. And I just hope that when we're older and fat,
older
and fatter.
Yeah.
But if Metallica was asked to go to the Kennedy Center honors and be honored, you would do something traditional like that, or would you just say, "Hey, fuck that. That's just too. That's not us."
It depends on where it's coming from,
We don't have an across-the-board policy about that type of stuff. You look at each one of them and go, that's cool, that's not so cool. I think that we've always been open to receiving that type of stuff because we've always felt that the accolades that come our way, we've done everything our way on our terms. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We did it all our own fucking way. We did it the Metallica way. We never sold out. We never did anything for other than just what we felt was pure and honest. And so... Kennedy Center, sure. Free trip to Washington.
I find the greatest bands are the ones that don't sell out. In other words, you could have changed your sound to a more commercial sound. You could have been pressured into that by a record company. I was watching, you guys were going through sort of the history of Metallica on stage Saturday night, and even in the movie you do this. And I'm listening to these songs, and I'm like, well, at any point, someone could have said to you, look, this isn't commercial, and you say, yeah, fuck it. Let's just, we'll write a real commercial album. and we'll sell our sound out, and you never did it. And that's why I think the audiences still respond to you guys.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
They see the honesty in what you do, and it's all relative. We've heard that we've sold out
a million
forever,
times. Right?
But it's all relative to what your world is and how small your world is. So we've stayed honest to ourselves, and that's all we can. That's all we can do.
When did the sellout bullshit start? When the Black Album came out? Was
No,
it
it started
way before that?
Yeah.
Ride the Lightning.
Ride the Lightning.
On the second album, we had a song called Fade to Black that we still play almost at every show. And James thought it would be a great idea to have acoustic guitars on
Right,
the album.
right.
And so when the metal community heard a Metallica song with acoustic guitars, they all lost their fucking lunches. Big time.
This
There
is
you
the
go.
song you're talking
There you
about.
go, the big sellout.
And to me, this is one of the
29
most,
years ago.
It is one of the most beautiful songs out there. I mean, wow, what a
It was
song!
honest, That's that.
Well, Fade to Black. Lars said the writing of this song that James, you were obsessed with death. That this was your death obsession. Is that true?
Still am somewhat. I think there's a fear of death that we all kind of struggle with and battle with. I think at that point, I remember writing "Fade to Black." I think it was Metal Joe's couch. When all
Who's
you
Metal
guys-
Joe?
Metal Joe. You don't know Metal Joe?
No.
Metal Joe.
I don't know Metal Joe.
Infamous Metal Joe. He took us in when our manager basically kicked us out of his house. And,
Over in Jersey.
Yeah, over in Jersey.
in Old Bridge, New Jersey.
1983.
Yeah, Old
Wow.
Bridge. We lived out on his farm, and we just partied and played and wrote songs. And I think at that point we were supposed to go to Europe for the first time.
Twisted Sister.
Yeah, and our gear had
rods.
gotten stolen. We got the phone call that not only was our then tour manager had a U-Haul filled with our gear. Someone stole the whole U-Haul.
And
It
Boston.
doesn't get more depressing than that when you're a band and your gear is stolen. You don't have the money to
That's pretty
replace
Now
much
it.
you
it.
can't even play.
Yeah.
We were lucky that we had our guitars with us. So
Because it was so cold in Boston, that's
Yeah.
where they got
So,
stolen.
so now you can joke about it, but at that point you were so depressed, you
Oh,
had
it
nowhere
was
to
the
live,
worst, yeah.
and all your gear was stolen, and then you start thinking about, Jesus, what the hell is life all about? And we're going to die anyway.
Well, more like our career's over. We're screwed. We're
And then you come up with this.
yeah, pretty much.